Hey guys, how's it going? Marcelo here, back with another discussion video. And I remember it like it was yesterday. It was the Christmas of 2001, and we lived in an apartment back then. And my mom got me up, I was all groggy from the previous night and all that. And I got a PS2 for Christmas. And it was a really awesome present. It pretty much, I think, topped all my other presents. But I got two games with it. I got Crash the Wrath of Cortex, and I got Tekken 3. And that's when I had realized, once I had tried Tekken 3 on the PS2, that it worked. You could play PS1 games on the PS2, and that blew my mind back then. I was like, oh my god, this new console can play games from the other console. And I just was kind of dumbfounded at the fact that this was my first console anyway that I had experienced backwards compatibility. And you already saw the title, so we live now in a day and age where that's common. Lots of consoles do that now. And the thing is, though, is because of the day and age we live in, it seems like backwards compatibility is starting to lessen or just get a little weird. Sometimes it's weirdly implemented, sometimes it's not implemented at all. I have no clue why, really, that they made those kinds of decisions, but some of that can be pegged down due to other things happening in the gaming world and just how consoles are evolving in general, so let's go over that. Really, the first thing I want to say is that we've got digital downloads now. Nintendo, the most prominent example of this is that Nintendo has their virtual console where you can get NES games, SNES games, Game Boy games, N64 games, Gamecube games, all onto the Wii U, digitally. And that kind of took over the fact that, well, I mean, sure, the Wii U is still backwards compatible with Wii games, but I think they're even starting to add Wii games now to the virtual console, because not too long ago, Mario Galaxy was introduced to the virtual console. So, with that being said, that was not even that long ago when you think about it. That was only a few years ago that the Wii's lifespan started to diminish once the Wii U rose. This is all just a specific example. It's not really what I'm going to talk about for the majority of the video, but that's kind of odd. So, really, the Wii was the first console for Nintendo to introduce backwards compatibility. Sony had it starting with the PS2, and Xbox 360 did it. I don't know if they did it too well or whatever, but people got pissed when the Xbox One couldn't do backwards compatibility. Then they went back on that and said, well, we're going to introduce backwards compatibility. But the thing is, where is the future of backwards compatibility heading to? Because we've got digital downloads, we've got just the way they're half implementing it, because we just got word only a few months ago that Sony is finally trying to do PS2 games right on the PS4 now, because the way the PS2 backwards compatibility worked with the PS3 is weird beyond belief. If you want me to go over that real quick, just to stray a little off topic, hopefully I can remember to get back onto the main topic, but the way PS2 backwards compatibility works on the PS3, or doesn't work in some situations, is I think it's limited to certain models. Certain models do it in certain ways, or not at all. We were so fortunate enough to have the PS3 that doesn't play PS2 games whatsoever, so yay! That's all great and grand. But certain models of the PS2 could just play PS2 games no problem. You don't need anything to do, just stick your disc in and there you go. Certain other models, though, require this little free app thingy for the PS2 data to be able to read properly, and you get that as a free download off the PS Store. So I tried that. With our PS3, it didn't work, so I think ours is just the model that does not do it at all. Which is weird, because why would PS1 games work so well on the PS3, yet PS2 games don't? It's starting with that last console generation. It got weird. Nintendo's been constant since the Wii, so really just two consoles, but the Wii was backwards compatible with the Gamecube, and the Wii U is backwards compatible with the Wii. So that's just physically disc-wise, and that's what I'm trying to say. And there's this leads to a whole other greater and grander thing that I want to mention at the end of the video, but back onto the main topic now with the PS2 games working on PS4. It's not so much through backwards compatibility as it is through emulation. And I've tried looking up, as of this recording, articles and stuff about how Sony plans to do this, and as of all the announcements from November, from what I've seen, there hasn't been too many updates to that, so at this point, I still don't really know. I don't know if anyone else knows. I don't know if I can really find any articles explaining more, if Sony's even talked about more, about how they're going to do this emulation. All I know is that they started off with some Star Wars games, and that's kind of the beginning of it. One of them being, I think, either one or the other, or both Battlefront games and some others. Now they're trying to debate which of the greatest and grandest PS2 games that, really hit it off on the console back then, they're going to now port over, so to speak, for emulation on the PS4. But that's just the weird thing, it's emulation. I mean, PCs can already do this, emulation is not so much of a new thing anymore. So the PS4 is doing emulation for PS2, not straight up physical disc backwards compatibility. So that just kind of begs the question, again, where is backwards compatibility going nowadays? Will it diminish entirely? By the time of the PS5 and the Xbox 2 or 720 or whatever they're going to call it, or even the NX. With the NX, Nintendo said that they're finally going to break their 10-year streak, whole decade of being defined as Wii, Wii U, Miiverse, Gamepad, Wii Remote. They're going to try something different now with the NX. That's why it's codenamed NX. It sounds like next. So what are they going to do next? Are they going to have, and with this topic, backwards compatibility, are Wii U games going to be backwards compatible, or are they just going to make everything digital downloads off their new virtual console or something? Or are they going to keep calling it virtual console? What are they going to do? What are these companies going to do when it comes to backwards compatibility in the future? And seeing as, not that this has anything to really do with it, but we've got like VR coming and like all these other just new advancements in technology of how you can play these games. So what does that mean necessarily for the old school games that were just simple, put the disc in the console and it runs? What is going to happen to that? The big thing I want to lead up to is that in the far, far future, how's this going to happen? Are discs going to die out soon? I kind of mentioned this. That's another video. Hold on. Never mind. I'm not going to touch too much on that. It was something I previously recorded that may or may not go up. But I guess I can talk a little bit about it here. Just a little bit. But I keep hearing that CDs are going to start like becoming something of a dead format in the near future. Not even so much in the near future. Just sometime in the future, CDs are going to join VHS tapes and cassette tapes as a dead format. I keep hearing, because everything's digital now. But that's just the thing. What happens when the internet crashes, or what happens when something gets hacked, or whatever? What if the ports aren't good? What if, how? That's why we need backwards compatibility, because it's so simple. You just pop the disc in, and there you go. So, like I kind of said earlier, what's going to happen in the future, like PS6, 7, 8, when backwards compatibility could possibly not happen anymore? Because it's kind of starting now. They're not implementing it fully, or they're doing it another way, aka emulation. So what's going to happen to those days of old where you pop your old game into the disc slot? I don't really know. Sony said that they were going to, they always wanted to implement some PS2 backwards compatibility in some form or another on the PS4, because, again, PS2 got a bad rep on the PS3 when it came to playing PS2 games. So, still, why they also have PS Now, I think it is, or PS Go, one of those two, which is that one thing, for lack of a better word, like app or whatever, where you get to, again, it's kind of like their news store kind of thing, but it's specifically for retro games. So, that's odd. I don't know why, again, they didn't just put backwards compatibility in the PS4 in general. As of Xbox One, however, they got to do it for, I don't think it works for all the N64, what the hell? Xbox 360 games? Huge. Whoa, that was weird. Okay. Anyway, however, they got Xbox One to be able to work with old 360 games. However that worked, they got it down right, I guess. Like I was trying to say, not all of them I think play, like to a T, but the good majority of the library from 360 games can work on Xbox One, from what I keep hearing. So, again, how is backwards compatibility going to work in the future? Because it's already getting weird now. It's been getting weird since the last console generation. Will backwards compatibility keep going? Seeing as how it's going now, I don't know. And it may not continue. It could have the chance of dying out. But with that being said, like I said earlier, in the future, like we're talking like probably 2030 or something, the year 2030, just throwing something out there. What's going to happen when, you know, your PS1, 2, your NES, SNES, when all those bust down, they break down, and you can't really find or afford another one? And I mean, if you just want to have your cartridge or your disc, how are you going to be able to play that? You gotta think of all possibilities. What if the consoles are broken? What if they, you know, eventually they're going to diminish, you know? So, what's gonna happen? I don't really know, but it's something to think about because backwards compatibility was really, like, awesome back then. It's kind of weird because, just like video game manuals, just like memory cards, you know, those things are pretty much, in terms of the modern stuff, they're gone. I still own a bunch of video game manuals, and I still own a bunch of memory cards, but as of the modern stuff now with these newer consoles, you don't need those anymore, because with memory cards, the consoles now save internally, and you have to make digital memory cards. With video game manuals, we have the internet, so even though it's funny that they still make strategy guides, but no one puts any more effort anymore into video game manuals, the ones that you get, the little booklets that you get in the game, a brand new game. So that's really weird. But will backwards compatibility join those two in terms of the most modern stuff? Will it just not happen anymore? And I kind of wish that I hope that it keeps going on. I hope it doesn't stop, because there's just something about it to where if you want to keep up to date, and say you don't even have or own any retro consoles, but you have all your games still, and they still work, you know, and all that, you've kept them in good condition, but say you end up, which is weird, why would you, but this analogy I was trying to make kind of doesn't make sense. If you bought a PS4 or something, but you have all your PS1, 2, and 3 games, don't know what would happen to your consoles at that point, and why wouldn't you just buy another one of those consoles? Anyway, just whatever. And you want to play those games on your PS4, you know. Can't really do that. So, it's weird. I should have had my thoughts a little more collected for this video, but basically, it seems like it's a dying format now to go with the memory cards and the video game manuals, but I really hope that it doesn't die out, because just having backwards compatibility makes it to where, especially if you want to go a little bit more specific and a little bit more up to date, you can always, you know, have Crash games or Jak and Daxter games or Ratchet and Clank games come to the PS4, and that's what they're trying to do with the emulation and all that. So like, you're probably going to start hearing rumors soon that Ratchet and Clank and Jak and Daxter will come to PS4 via emulation. But for backwards compatibility, I mean, all of your games, you can just have them there, and it's just a little bit more easier. It's old school, but it's easier, and if you own the game, just pop it in. You know, I find it weird that you now have to, if you want to play your games, like if I didn't have my collection, my library of games, I would have to buy lots of money spent for these cards and stuff to make sure that my internet connection works, to go online, to buy them digitally, install them. All I have to do is pop the disc in. Otherwise, with backwards compatibility. So, it's way more easier, and it's just way more efficient and convenient and all that. So really, I'm just rambling at this point. What do you guys think? Do you think backwards compatibility will still continue on with the PS5 and the Xbox, whatever they're going to call it, and the NX? Or do you think by these next consoles, or the consoles after those consoles, backwards compatibility is just not going to be a thing anymore? I hope that it doesn't come down to that. I hope that it keeps going. But I want to hear what you guys think. So, with that being said, backwards compatibility, magical stuff back then, common now, starting to kind of die now, so I don't know. But anyway, I'm Marcelo, and I'll see you guys later. Take care.